I did not hit her. It's not true. It is bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Anthony. Do you want to record a podcast? Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, joined as always by
a very tired Anthony Ray Bench.
Yeah, and we are here at Stan Lee's Los Angeles Comic-Con, actually in the middle of the convention center right now, and we thought that this would be a perfect place for us to record our latest episode. We're actually doing a live show here this weekend. By the time you've listened to this, you might have already heard the episode, or maybe you were there live, but that's on Sunday, and that episode will be released at some point or another. We didn't properly promote that, did we?
No, we've just had way too much going on.
Cool. Yes. Well, we've seen two films that we feel you need to know about.
We have to talk about.
We have to talk about these two movies. Let's jump right to it. We've seen The Disaster Artist.
Fantastic movie.
Wait. Just don't tell it. See, you ruined it.
Am I burying the lead?
What if someone just wanted to know if Disaster Artist was fantastic or not? You have to leave some anticipation.
Oh my God, Chris. Okay.
All right. So don't say what you think of it yet. You want to hold out. We also saw Thor Ragnarok.
That we did.
So we're going to talk
I won't say anything about it until we talk about it officially. See,
yes.
I learn.
Yeah. So I think no better place than Stan Lee's LA Comic-Con to talk about Thor Ragnarok. But we'll probably end up talking about some other movies too. But these two films, I think, deserve a lengthy conversation, which is why we thought we'd give them the full episode, and you will hear the full spoilers. Because if you're as ambitious as I am and you like to see movies on the Thursday that they open, because now it used to be the midnight, we'll show it at midnight, and they realize that people just hate that, because part of the fun of seeing a movie like that at an early screening is you get to have
spoil it for all your friends like an asshole.
No, you get to have that post-film conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, half the fun is, let's go to the bar, let's discuss, let's get a consensus on, what people thought. Let's oh, you noticed that? I didn't even notice that thing that happened. So there'll be Easter eggs and things that people like. So I love having that. It's actually more fun than seeing the movie sometimes is the post-film conversation, which I think is totally going to be true for Justice League.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Well, okay. So I begrudgingly bought tickets to Justice League for the Thursday screening at the Dome at the ArcLight in Hollywood, 8 p.m. screening. If anyone who's listening to this, ArcLight should give us money.
They should.
ArcLight should give us money.
We've recorded podcasts there.
Yeah. Well, look. They're not officially, we're not officially obligated to plug them, but I do think we should still plug videoblocks.com.
Oh, yeah.
Videoblocks.com is a service that allows you to download stock footage and whatnot, and it's great. You pay an annual fee, then you have access to all this footage that you can download. It's really
stock
useful.
Footage, sound files, everything you need, whether you're doing podcasts or film.
Yeah, go to videoblocks.com/filmthreat.
And I'm not going to make you spell it out because they aren't paying us.
Yeah. And the other thing is Time Slippers. I had a very good customer service experience with Time Slippers. Okay. Because one of my Time Slippers, I bought these shoes, which I have been a guy who's worn Converse shoes forever.
Yeah.
So for me to switch to a different shoe is like a monumental shift in who I am. Maybe I'm growing as an adult.
You're maturing.
I doubt it. But so
I doubt it too.
So I kind of complained, like, my Time Slippers ripped. They sent me a new pair.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I said, hey, I want to tell people about it on my podcast. Can you give listeners of the Film Threat Podcast a discount code? They're giving us the discount code that they're going to use on Black Friday, but you can use it now. Just go to timeslippers.com, use the offer code FilmThreat. You'll get a 20% discount.
Very cool.
There's no bigger discount. Okay, let's get right back to it. I actually did not intend to do like 2 commercials in a row like that.
Yeah, look at us with sponsors. I didn't even know about the second one.
Yeah, well, the Time Slippers thing just sort of happened. So And I just, they're my go-to shoe now, to the point where like they're all rotted, and I also kind of like them because they kind of look like the shoes that the crew of the Discovery wears on Star Trek Discovery. This is a super nerdy thing.
How are you liking that show, by the way? Because I hear that kind of went off the deep end.
Mixed. Mm-hmm. But I will say I like where it's going because I like that it's serious.
Okay.
It's a serious. It's the most serious-minded Star Trek series that we've seen. It's not all haha. We're chuckling at the end because we've made a joke and everything's all wrapped up in a neat bow. It's really this ongoing war. I don't see it getting resolved in one season either. I mean, they've really set up a big conflicts going down the road. So I think it's too early to tell. We'll do a special episode at the end of the season, and I'll give you my code.
Okay.
I'll give you my code.
Oh, hey, that's my phone.
Oh, that's great. A professional podcaster puts it on airplane mode like I do.
Yeah, well, a professional podcaster can learn his fucking lines and not use my phone to read off of it.
That's true. That's true. I had to read. I had to read the Tommy Wiseau lines at the top. So I'm sorry. I just, what's weird is that's like a scene out of The Disaster Artist is Tommy Wiseau can't remember his line. You had to write down the same line, which was our little cold open for the show. But we should talk about The Disaster Artist, that we attended an early screening of the film. There was a Q&A after with
James Franco is really high.
Right, with James Franco, Dave Franco, and
allegedly
moderated by Kelly Oxford. Before we'll talk about that later, but let's talk about how did you discover The Room? When did you discover it?
I think I was watching clips of it on YouTube. I like going, especially back when IMDb used to do like the top 10 like lists or top 100 lists. I'm pretty sure I saw it on one of the lists, and I was like, oh, I'll check it out. It changed my life, Chris. It really did. What's
so funny is, at the time, my closest friend was a guy named Mark. Mm-hmm. So that the YouTube clips was exactly how I discovered it. It just sort of showed up on there, and which was like, I feel like it was like kind of like when YouTube was blowing up at the same time that The Room did, because it was in the early, I don't know, it was just like 2000,
early to mid 2000s. Yeah,
2004. It was the mid, 2005. Whatever. So it was So watching those clips was, it was just bizarre. And then I remember seeing a copy of it on DVD, and just thinking, this is just like everyone has it. This is one of the worst movies ever made. Tommy Wiseau is this guy that is,
he looks like a melted Sylvester Stallone action figure.
Oh, that's exactly what. Yeah. I think that description is accurate.
Like if somebody took like a lighter to like a Rambo action figure from the 80s, like one that didn't even look like Sylvester Stallone to begin with, and just kind of melted it for about 40 seconds. That is what Tommy Wiseau looks like. He's a strange looking dude, right?
Yeah. And his story is bizarre, and that's what The Disaster Artist is about. But just having seen The Room, and then just read articles, that came out about the making of The Room, and there's even a really good podcast. Adam Spiegelman does a podcast called Proudly Resents, and he actually does an extensive interview with the original director of The Room, the guy who directed The Room that basically didn't get the credit for it, who was fired before it was completed, this guy Sandy, who is played in the Disaster Artist movie by Seth Rogen. So I would, if you want to do a deep dive, I would listen to the Proudly Resents podcast where Adam Spiegelman interviews the director of The Room. It's such a great episode.
I'll also add to that, I really like the episode of How Did This Get Made, where they talk about The Room, because Mark actually shows up and as a guest and talks about the making of the movie and kind of gives some insight. That's how I knew about The Disaster Artist. I didn't know about the book until I listened to that episode of the podcast.
Well, what we're going to do is we're just going to tell you about other better podcasts to listen to if you want to know about The Room. But this is, the whole thing is before the book The Disaster Artist was written.
Yeah.
You had to get information like from interviews. Tommy Wiseau was always very evasive and strange about giving info. He'd never tell you. To this day, none of us know how old Tommy Wiseau is.
Or where he's from.
Or
how he got the money.
How he made his fortune.
Yeah.
Is he from Romania? He's such a strange accent. I don't know.
I'm going with straight up alien. That dude is not from Earth.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So, before the Disaster Artist book came out, there really was very little information. You had to depend on podcasts and just random articles written online. But my son, actually, he was on our Father's Day episode of the podcast.
Shout out to Zach.
He became obsessed with The Room and was going to screenings of it where Tommy Wiseau attended, throwing the spoons, and he'd go with his friends in high school, and it was like the sort of cult film that they would go see. So he was even more into it than I was. And then having seen, Tommy at some of these conventions, I don't know if he's here at Stan Lee's LA Comic-Con.
He was a couple years ago. He wasn't here last year, though.
But what I love is he's had a booth in the past, and he's done stuff like he'll sell like basketballs that are Tommy Wiseau underwear. And I have to say, the underwear is actually amazing. To this day, I still have the underwear, even though it's kind of falling apart. That underwear is really good, but he sells it at such a low price. It's like $10 for the Blu-ray signed. It's pretty amazing. So
yeah, but make sure he signs the inside and not just the plastic outside of the Blu-ray.
So
otherwise they'll rub off.
Yeah, the cult of The Room, I mean, is much like Rocky Horror Picture Show. When I was in high school, Rocky Horror Picture Show was a big cult thing. I remember going with my high school girlfriend, Alex. We would go to see Rocky Horror. People would dress up. They would throw toast. Mm-hmm. It was very similar to how I see The Room has grown.
Yeah.
Very similar kind of cult fandom. But it wasn't until Greg Sesteros, who's he's
Mark.
He's Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the lead, sort of second lead.
Yeah, secondary lead.
To Johnny, played by Tommy Wiseau. When he wrote that book, oh my God, what's weird is how many questions the book answers, yet the primary thing that people are interested in, like what is Tommy Wiseau's story, is still remains to this day unwritten. Do you think that he's holding out to like just do a book of his own?
I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to tell. Like, I remember I went to visit his booth a few years ago at Kamikaze, or LA Comic-Con, whatever they're calling it now.
Yes, it used to be called Kamikaze.
Yeah, I'm
now
still calling it Kamikaze.
Stan Lee's Los Angeles Comic-Con. It's a rebrand to confuse all of us, which is not always the best thing, but whatever.
But I remember hanging around his booth, just like he was acting like Tommy Wiseau, and I was like, I just have a feeling like if I stick around here long enough, he's going to crack. Like, he's going to use this real voice, that sounds American or whatever, and like, no, like, if it is an act, if he is just like, basically pranking or trolling us all, like, he's like Andy Kaufman level, really.
It definitely is. This like is Tommy? Is this like a big joke that he's played?
Yeah.
Is it all, but like that Disaster Artist book, I read it, and when I say I read it, typical of me, I listened to the book. But Greg Sesteros, who
I actually did read it, so I'm awesome.
He narrates the audiobook, and he does a perfect Tommy Wiseau imitation. I mean, dead on Tommy Wiseau, and it makes the book all that much more enjoyable. You really find out about, like, they don't go into Greg's life so much in the movie, because he was like working at a clothing store making a lot of money. He pursued
he was a model.
His acting. He was in like one of the Puppet Master movies. So there's a lot more to Greg's story. The story mostly focuses on Tommy and the relationship Tommy has with Greg. Now, the movie is directed it's directed by James Franco, who also plays Tommy Wiseau, and he directed the movie in character as Tommy, which had
to have been a nightmare.
Had to have been kind of crazy, but like, I mean, let's talk about so the phenomenon is crazy. I think the book is phenomenal.
Oh, it's great.
It's one of the best. I love behind the scenes books about the makings of films, whether they be phenomenal successes or
disasters.
Horrible, disasters.
Yeah.
And this is just one of the best ones. I can't recommend the Disaster Artist book enough. But I guess what we learned in the Q&A is that James Franco was halfway through reading the book and hadn't finished the book and said, I want the rights to this. I have to make this into a movie. I have to get this made into a movie.
Yeah.
So, and he wasn't so much aware of The Room as the rest of us were at the time.
As the phenomenon that it has been for the past decade, really.
Yeah, he mainly discovered it, through the book. look, I don't care how anyone discovers The Room, through friends, articles, podcasts, whatever. The book, it's just one of those movies that you just.
It changes you.
I have to see it to believe it. It's also one of those things where it's like, one of my favorite quotes from John Waters is, if you try to make a bad movie, you can't fail. But I think the kind of movie that we see most often, which is the one that disappoints me more than anything, is a movie that does nothing. It doesn't take any
boring.
risks. Yeah, it's milquetoast boring. It doesn't take any risks. Doesn't offend. It's not like it's. It just sort of was like, all right, well, you made a movie it just sort of sits there, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not going to offend anybody. It doesn't take any risks. It's not good and it's not bad. It's just just 90 minutes, and whatnot.
The more I thought about the Disaster Artist, the more I realized it's a very basic movie with basic concepts, but it's a character-driven movie. And I think that's where it shines completely, because if you take away, Tommy Wiseau, it's basically, almost like a romantic comedy about two people falling in love, and then the other one starts getting a little bit of success, and then there's jealousy and everything like that. It's a basic plot, but it's structured around this character, and James Franco nails that character, and the character is so weird and out there, and he says weird things, and I think that's where the movie's strength lies. Like we've kind of seen this movie before, but not with the character like Tommy Wiseau.
Well, it's as you pointed out. I mean, it's character driven. It's sort of what indie film does best.
Yeah.
It's this bizarre character. I mean, Napoleon Dynamite could be considered.
Yep.
Like if Napoleon Dynamite were a real person. Mm-hmm. But like that kind of thing where it's really character driven more than anything. But yeah, you're right. It is like that typical of the Seth Rogen, that sort of that group of the cast of characters. It's a bromance, which is a term that is, I would say it's not. I think people thought they were clever when they were saying it at the time, but this also fits in that category of being a bromance.
But it's the truth. If you change the gender of like one character, it would be a cliched like romance movie.
No, it really would. It completely would. Yeah. Completely would. So the story follows pretty closely the story that's that you've read or know about from The Disaster Artist. If you've read that book, I mean, it's the kind of the behind the scenes of making this movie, the sort of Tommy having this sort of blind faith that there'll be successes in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right? If they just go to Hollywood. And then it's kind of the sort of going for your dream, but your dream happens not exactly the way that you would expect.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you nailed it on the head. I mean, Tommy Wiseau thought that this was going to be, Oscar worthy. Like at the end, like there's
Tennessee
even
Williams.
Yeah, at the end there's even a tag that said Tommy Wiseau paid for the movie to play for like 2 weeks at a theater just so he can be eligible for an Oscar. Like, that would never happen, but the dude has so much faith in himself, or he's such a good troll that, like, a part of me wants him to, like, come out, like, in 10 years and just be like, it was a joke all along, this is what I'd sound like, for real.
Wouldn't it be funny if
it'd be amazing.
Tommy Wiseau just suddenly said, like, hello, I'm Tommy Wiseau, I talk like this, actually. The whole thing has been an act. I was faking, and, he basically just trolled us all, and it was a big prank.
At that point, I think he's made the greatest comedy movie of all time, because you can look at the Room. Like, he likes to claim The Room is a black comedy. No, that movie was trying to be serious, and it failed on every level to the point where it became a comedy, an unintentional comedy. I think those are sometimes the best comedies.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's so. I mean, Franco is so perfect. I mean, his face, they actually put prosthetics on him.
Yeah.
So he looked like Tommy. The hair, the way he walks,
the mannerisms, the way he
carries
dressed.
himself.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that's worth noting is how good the ensemble cast is.
Oh yeah. Seth Rogen played Sandy, the director. Paul Scheer played, I think, the script
DP?
supervisor.
Yeah,
No, DP, right. Jason Mantzoukas, June Diarrhyfel, the cast of How Did This Get Made? They're all in it. Alison Brie is in it. I love Alison Brie. She plays Mark's girlfriend. The cast is phenomenal, and they all do really well. And oh my gosh, how perfect did they nail the recreation scenes?
Well, yeah. Something. Okay, this. I don't know if you could consider this spoilery or not. But,
no, it's in the trailer.
They actually shoot scenes from The Room, but incredibly accurately. Like it's the recreations are so good, and they shot so much of it that what they ended up doing is we have R2-D2 and
nice.
Some other robot coming down the lane here.
It's live.
So, yeah, you might hear, we are in the middle of a convention floor, and we've sort of commandeered a table to do this podcast, but
the recreation scenes, like they played kind of like a montage of it at the end, and I kind of I
not
guess
just a montage. It's actually what they do is they do a split screen.
Yeah,
and
side by side comparison.
On one side of it, you see the
actual room,
the recreation.
Yeah.
Now on the other side, you see the actual scene from The Room, and it's unbelievable how in sync they are. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. At one point, like I was watching the screen and I was looking at the recreation, and I was just like, man, this looks like the actual movie.
Yeah, no, it just everything from the color to the dress. I
got them mixed up.
Exactly.
So,
you had to look at which side of the screen is it again, and it was so perfect. It really was incredibly amazing, how they did that. And okay, we're not going to ruin it. Okay, this could be considered also a spoiler. There is and it was described by James Franco this way, a Marvel type post-credit scene in the movie that's at the very, very end of the film, so you have to stay beyond all the credits to see this scene, and it goes on for a little bit that is so worth it. Just do not walk out of the theater at the end of The Disaster Artist. You have to stay to the very end.
Credits.
But I think it's pretty cool that James Franco said that. In a way, Marvel's kind of changed. Marvel didn't invent post-credit scenes.
No.
I'm curious to find out exactly when the first post-credit scene happened in a film. It's
Ferris Bueller was in the 80s.
That was, yeah, but
so I don't think Ferris Bueller was the first either.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I think Ferris Bueller was the one that first, I guess the one I first noticed.
But Marvel's made it a signature.
Yeah.
It's a signature thing, and now it's sort of we'll just do a Marvel post-credit sequence.
To the point where they made fun of it in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yes, well, I like that they did that.
Yeah, it was funny.
So yeah, during the Q&A, which was really interesting because it was moderated by Kelly Oxford, and if you don't know who Kelly Oxford is, she's I would consider her an elite member of the Twitterati. She's one of those people on Twitter that you have to follow just because she's so clever. But she's evolved from being witty on Twitter to being an author and now screenwriter. And she, I don't know if it was clear that she wrote the disaster. It's basically sounds like she did some punch-up work. She worked on the script.
That's what I gathered from it.
Yeah, she worked on the script. So she moderated the panel with Dave Franco and James Franco. But Dave hardly got a word in edgewise. And what's so funny is during the Q&A, you'd see Dave kind of turn his head and just looking like this happens to me all the time. He talks over me. And I
know the feels, Dave. I know the feels.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's shoot. Oh, my God. Yes, Anthony. All right, I'm sorry. You're right. We need to get... Well, the publicist for it, emailed me, and I was like, one of my favorite movies this year. Loved it. We'd love to get James or Dave on the podcast.
That would be amazing.
That would be kind of fun. But then you guys can commiserate together.
Hug it out. I know the feels.
But yeah, so I did enjoy the Q&A because it did give you some insight into how, what the approach was with doing The Disaster Artist as a film. What really struck me was the reverence that both of them, that everyone had for the movie. I mean, they really had like this, that they wanted to just really pay it respect.
Yeah.
So I thought I found that very impressive, and just as a fan of The Room and a fan of Tommy Wiseau, having seen him at conventions and looked for and having read the book and looked for any shred of information about him. I mean, The Disaster Artist lives up to. I mean, I've seen a lot of movies this year. This is one of the few where I said, I need to see it again.
Yeah.
I want to see it again.
I told you this the other night. I think it's definitely going to be in my top 5 for the year.
Ooh, top 5. It's definitely in my top 10. I don't know that I've seen all of the movies yet.
Yeah.
I think I need to see a few more films before I determine what that top list would be. And I also hate those kind of lists.
I do too.
I hate them, but look, it's an endorsement. It's, I like this movie so much I want to see it again. I don't want to.
I'm interested in knowing like what somebody who's never seen The Room would think of The Disaster Artist.
No, that's an interesting point. If you did not know The Room and you had just seen the trailer or walked into a movie cold, which we do so, we don't get to do very often, right?
No.
At all.
Trailers spoil the entire movie
trailers
all the
spoil
time.
movies. See, this is why I like to see movies at film festivals, because you're often seeing the movie. There is no marketing yet.
Yeah.
There is no trailer. You'll see one approved still in a festival program guide with the description of the movie that is so shitty, you learn nothing about the movie.
I'm
being
underpaid
dead
intern.
serious about that. So, anyway, I'm just, I mean, you and I can't speak to that, but I would love for someone to see it who has not seen The Room or doesn't even know about Tommy Wiseau.
We need a test bunny.
We need to,
We need to
someone should be a
find
test
somebody
subject.
who's never seen The Room and go see The Disaster Artist.
Someone should be a test subject for that. No, okay, final thoughts on Disaster Artist other than the resounding endorsement we're both giving it.
During the Q&A, James Franco was talking about, being in the process of directing the movie as Tommy Wiseau, kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Method acting. Yeah, hardcore method acting. I liked the fact that he commented that the way that he was made up and stuff like that, it would be really super weird if he just showed up on set looking like Tommy Wiseau and talking normally. I got a good chuckle out of that. Yeah, I mean, final thoughts, it's a great movie. Go see it.
Yeah, he said that he was the first one, like he had to get there at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning or some crazy ungodly hour, sit in a chair, get his makeup done. So when everyone showed up on set, he was already in makeup and in character. So, I don't know, I gotta say, that's commitment. I don't know, I think the Academy's kind of strange when it comes to awarding Best Director nomination to an actor who hasn't traditionally begun as a director. So I'm not really, and the politics of that is always very weird, because people say that Kevin Costner did not deserve it, Best Director, for Dances with Wolves. But, look, if I was in the Academy, I would nominate The Disaster Artist. If I was in the DGA, I would vote for it. So yeah, I mean, this is one of the best films we've seen this year.
Hands down, yeah.
And now switching gears to talk about another film that I don't know if it's favorite of the year, but definitely a movie I want to see again.
Yeah.
And that is
Thor Ragnarok.
Okay, Thor Ragnarok. I like the first 2 Thor movies. I kind of like the second one. Had more of a sense of humor. The first one was kind of going for a little more of a Lord of the Rings vibe.
I disagree wholeheartedly. I think the first one was a cool fish out of water story that had no budget because they weren't sure if this character was going to take off.
Well, that's true.
For the longest time, Marvel looked at Thor as a joke.
Right.
He was a joke character. He spoke, in Old English, thou will fight Thor with my hammer. That's how he sounded. And to take a chance and and especially because the previous Marvel movies were all technology based. This is taking the Marvel universe that was kind of grounded in reality, not Christopher Nolan levels, but and introducing a magical element. So it was low budget. It was a risk, and I'm glad that the movie was well received. But the second one was definitely trying to be like a Lord of the Rings type movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's what's weird about the Thor films is they're kind of a mixed bag in the sense that, like, the tone is different for all of them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this third one being an even more dramatic shift in tone from the first to the second. It's like they're trying to figure out how Thor can be a character that works in the Marvel universe.
Because he works best, honestly, as an Avenger. And it's kind of funny because they kind of did their own Avenger team within this movie.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny because they described, like, Civil War, Captain America Civil War, as like, Avengers 2.5 or whatever. It
really was.
I would describe, like, Thor Ragnarok as Avengers 0.5.
Yeah.
Because it's like, half the team or something? Or,
yeah, it really is.
Under half the team. Like, but it has characters that you've grown to love. Loki is great. And the dynamic between Thor, I mean, let's just get into Thor Ragnarok, right? I mean, it does resolve the questions that were left unanswered at the end of Thor 2.
Yeah.
Which,
what happened to Odin?
What happened to Odin?
What's going on
Loki's
with Loki?
kind of taken on Odin's persona.
Yeah, he's in disguise.
He's in disguise as
Odin.
and is now ruling Asgard. So it kind of resolves some of that. But it does it in such a quick way. It takes. What's weird is, okay, now I guess it's hard to talk about it without getting into spoiler territory, so we are going to kind of ruin a little bit. In the first maybe 15 minutes of the movie, they wrap up everything from everything that was all the conflicts from Thor 1 and 2 are wrapped up in the first 15 minutes. It's very strange, like, and in an offhanded line, they basically say, Jane Foster dumped some people that see Thor on the street. Yeah, Jane dumped you.
Yeah,
that was a mutual dumping. Like, ruining a joke.
That's all that's said about Natalie Portman.
Yeah, that's all that's said. It's like 2 lines, and she's not. But that romance never worked.
No,
it never worked.
No,
it was just like they had no chemistry whatsoever. Natalie Portman
is either great or she's a charisma vacuum. Like, there's never like an in the middle. Like, she's either great or she just terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. She doesn't do well against any movie that has a green screen, which is like Marvel and Star Wars.
That's her kryptonite.
Yeah. So, but whatever. Look, I still. I mean, she's an accomplished actress, just not when it comes to science fiction or fantasy
big
movies.
Budget special effect movies.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
but other characters like get killed off that were kind of major to the first 2 movies. They just get killed off with like no fanfare whatsoever. That's my only main criticism about the movie. It's so in a rush to get to something new that it completely just botches everything that came before it.
Like I say, it wraps up everything from the first 2 movies in the first 15 minutes, and then it becomes...
And it's rushed. It feels rushed.
It does feel rushed.
And cheap.
And then it becomes Guardians of the Galaxy. It kind of becomes like a Guardians of the Galaxy with Thor in a spaceship, and you know
that's what I was afraid of. But it honestly, I feel like it felt like its own thing, not so much Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, there's some crazy music happening in the background. No idea what's going on.
That sounds like the Xena theme song.
Right.
Like sung by a choir. Weird.
Now we have to mention that we just had like a quick change of venue because it suddenly got loud in the convention center.
Droids going crazy. We had cosplayers.
We had, first of all, there's like a voice actor behind the table that we were recording at.
Yeah.
Then there's like
nice
a lot
guy,
of people like to have their cosplay accompanied now by music, which is really distracting. And then robots, fashion shows. So now we're out here in the hallway where people, they do their cosplay. I'm sure we could find a Thor. I saw Hela here.
Yeah, it was great costume.
There's a really good Hela here.
It was hella good.
It was.
Yeah, I made that.
Yeah,
joke.
That was stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, that was. Okay,
not taking it back.
We were talking about Thor Ragnarok. So I think what makes this film work best of any of them, because we kind of described it as Avengers 0.5, because it's just it's a buddy movie in a way. With
he literally forms a team.
He does form a team, like the Avengers, and they even make a joke about that. But the thing that works for me is the Hulk. I'm not talking about Bruce Banner. I'm talking about the Hulk.
Yeah.
Hulk is like a big, lovable baby that likes to beat things up.
He's like a 5-year-old that could punch you to Jupiter.
Right.
I loved it. The Hulk is my favorite Avenger, hands down. Always has been. But I feel like the movies have never quite got the Hulk right. Like, I like the Hulk that talks. I like the Hulk that, doesn't just grunt and smash things.
Well, just like from the first issue of the Hulk, when Hulk was Grey Hulk, and it was like this whole thing of like he was a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde character.
Yeah,
That's basically what the Hulk began as.
Well,
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, not a comic book for those that are listening that might have thought that.
Yeah.
I've got issue 1 of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's one of my favorite comics. It originally started as forget it. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure they made an adaptation.
If you get me around nerds, my inner nerd just completely comes out, and
it flares up.
But the thing is, like, yes, the way that the Hulk talks. Yeah. The Hulk has like a different kind of way of looking at things. The Hulk is the id exploded of Bruce Banner. So.
Yeah. It's interesting that you referenced, the Hulk's first appearance being a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing. My first exposure to the Hulk was Peter David's run, where the Hulk was Intelligent Hulk. Do you remember that? Were you familiar with that?
I don't remember it because why would I want to read that? I start with the source material.
No, it was so good. Peter David is my favorite Hulk writer of all time. Go back and read that run. It's an amazing run, amazing stories. But I like a Hulk that can communicate. And this is kind of like, a happy medium for me, because it's not like Intelligent Hulk with, Bruce Banner's intellect and strength. It's like a Hulk that can communicate, but with the intelligence of, like, a preschool kid.
Well, here's
like the same bouts of anger and his little... his little outbursts and stuff like that. Like, I loved it. Well,
it's and also the Thor fighting Hulk and who's stronger thing kind of like carries through the whole movie, which is so fun.
Issues with that one,
right? But this is what works about the Marvel films that I'm really impressed by, is the fact that characters change.
Yeah,
I mean, the Bruce Banner. He can change to the Hulk, then he's not the Hulk. He can, he can control it, but in this, he really can't control it, right? Mm-hmm. He cannot control the Hulk. So, no. And we did say we were going to talk spoilers, but I feel like there's some big things that happen with regard to Thor and Asgard in this that change the Marvel universe and set up Infinity War. Yeah, but I mean, Thor is forever changed, Asgard is forever changed, and it leads directly into what looks to be Infinity War. And that is the thing that makes these Marvel movies so good. I almost think that there's a thing that you can just say a Marvel movie. And Marvel, in my opinion, in terms of tentpole summer movies that are supposed to be popcorn, fun, I'm going to check my brain at the door, have a good time at the movies, and laugh and there might be some deeper layers in there in terms of theme, but it's not going to tax my brain, right? But because I have such a beloved relationship with these characters going back to when I was a kid and read most Marvel comics I read in reprint because I couldn't afford them, they were too expensive, and those Marvel, the hardcover collected ones, and then I used to watch those cartoons, which you can still find on YouTube, which are the ones with the limited animation.
Yeah, poorly animated.
But what's cool about the limited animation is they actually used the original art, and they were kind of like radio plays. You actually didn't need to... You actually didn't need to read you could actually just listen to the sound from that. It was so good.
Yeah.
So
they are charming but very crude.
But the Marvel movies now have, like, we all know there's going to be a tag at the end. We know that there's going to be, like, clever, cameos. And
now
there's some cameos.
Tags.
What's that?
Now there's multiple
tags, within the credits, after the credits. Some of them are meaningful and set things up, and some of them don't.
Are just jokes.
They're just jokes,
yeah.
but there really is sort of a when you're going to see a Marvel movie that you're in for, and they really are nailing it in the way that, like, other franchises are not. I mean, Transformers is pretty much out of steam. right? I mean, Star Wars people have questioned, is Star Wars dead? We'll see on December 15th, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I said it was dead, but then the trailer came
well,
out.
there's a lot of YouTube videos declaring Star Wars dead, and it may, in fact, the brand may be tarnished from the standpoint of, I watched this one video, it was 20 minutes. All the guy did was just go from store to store to store to show you how easily you could find Star Wars stuff, and that it's just actually sitting on a shelf. It's not.
That was not the case when The Force Awakens came out.
Yeah, but I don't know.
The shelves were barren.
I feel like there might. I mean, you know what? I think George Lucas had it right with every 3 years, because every 3 years means it goes away just long enough for you to miss it, and it's back. I don't know if there's the way that we may consume pop culture faster now, in the sense that, you know, something happened a couple years ago and then suddenly it's a real life story on Netflix or a documentary about it. You know, there's not that time to really.
It's like going to a buffet and just gorging yourself. It's not healthy. It's not. We need to, you know, kind of get it, you know, at a slower rate. Right. I mean, what I mean is that, like, maybe a Star Wars movie every year is not something we want. Maybe we want other stuff. Maybe we want that relationship to kind of go away, right, for a while. I mean, there was such a frenzy for Star Wars because each time it's come back, it's gone away for a period of time. Yeah.
Right? And so I don't know. Like, I think that's the thing. I don't know that it's dead. I think that there's too much Star Wars.
Trying to space it out with the Star Wars stories, you know, the kind of in-between movies, I think that's stupid. Just we'll see. We haven't seen a trailer for the Han Solo film, which is so cleverly titled Solo.
Yeah, I think that's story. To me, that is, I don't know when they phoned that title in, but that to me is, I think,
lazy.
That was, I'm like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm really waiting for Luke Skywalker, because all I ever cared about with Star Wars was Luke Skywalker. He was the character I cared about. I know Darth Vader's cooler.
That's a rare thing, but I completely agree with you.
Yeah, it's you know, I wanted to know what happened to Luke, and I just hope we don't find out that he's kind of a side character in this. I don't know. We'll see. That new trailer is very good, but I don't trust trailers.
Good.
I don't trust them. So back to Thor Ragnarok and Marvel movies and all that. So the relationship with Hulk is just, and Thor is amazing.
Yeah. It's basically a buddy movie in space.
Well, it is. It's weird that it's out in outer space, because you don't think like Thor, you know. I mean, I think of Thor like with the hammer, and he's a god and all this, and
it's weird. It's like Marvel doesn't know what to do with Thor, so they just throw him in with other characters, and now they're throwing him in different movie franchises because it is very similar to Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm happy to say that it's not as similar as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's not. It's definitely not as.
There is a distinctively different feel between, you know, Thor Ragnarok and any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but still, it's the same. You know. It's the same space kind of look and space feel, but it works. It totally works. We were talking about this earlier, but like the tone between all three of the movies, like this one is just way out there, and I kind of digged it. Like I'm not that upset that the tone isn't very consistent between these movies.
I mean, you know what the tone is? The tone is Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Now Marvel movie can be identified as a genre. You know, it's not just because I think they've transcended superhero. The whole thing of, I'm a superhero. I mean, in the Marvel universe, what superheroes have secret identities? Not Tony Stark. Spider-Man does.
Yeah.
Daredevil does. Thor does not. Bruce Banner, Hulk do people know Bruce Banner? I mean, I'm talking about people on Earth. Do they know Bruce Banner is the Hulk?
I think S.H.I.E.L.D. was trying to keep that under wraps.
Right. So
I could be wrong, but from what they were talking about in the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie, it seems like S.H.I.E.L.D. was kind of trying to let Banner do his thing.
Right. So all those what I'm saying is all those sort of superhero movie cliches are kind of, you know, not that important to a Marvel movie, because Marvel movies do different things. What I do like is they really do pay tribute to things from the comics. And visually, we do have to say this about Thor Ragnarok. It looks so different than any Thor movie, but different than any Marvel movie. It's colorful, but in a completely different way that you wouldn't expect. Not like it's bright like Guardians, and there's so many things right out of Jack Kirby. I mean, it's cosmic Jack Kirby is what Thor Ragnarok really pays tribute to, and that is what makes it so different and unique. And just as a Jack Kirby fan, when it would go to like cosmic Jack Kirby stuff was
the best Jack Kirby stuff.
Yeah, like
when he's drawing weird out there stuff. I think with Doctor Strange and with Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 and with this movie, like Jack Kirby's presence in the Marvel Universe, the cinematic Marvel Universe, is very apparent. And I think that makes for interesting filmmaking.
And my first introduction really to Jack Kirby was reading the Fantastic Four. The early issues. I mean, I
back to Marvel.
I read cover to cover 1 through 100 of Fantastic Four. And I believe that's when Kirby and Lee, like, they were like, okay, we've done 100 issues. We're moving on. And I wonder, did they do 100 issue? I'll have to look it up. I'm sure someone listening to this is going, well, it was the team of, anyways. So, but I do like when a different team takes over. It's kind of like that in the movies, in a sense. Like in comic books, there would be like a team. There'd be a writer-artist team.
Yeah.
And the writer and artist would have a huge impact on the tone of the comic, in the writing, in the visual language, in so many things. And the artist definitely had influence on the storytelling. And in a lot of cases, you'll hear this from just documentaries and whatnot, is that the artist, Stan Lee would kind of act out the story. The artist would go and they would basically ink and they would draw what the story was. And then Stan Lee, after the visuals were done, would come in and actually fill in the balloons with like what was happening. He'd sort of like, here's my vague idea. And the artist contributed quite a bit to story. And then the actual words were, Stan Lee throwing stuff in. And there's a documentary about Stan Lee where, he's such a presence here at Stan Lee's.
The convention is literally
Los Angeles Comic-Con.
Yeah.
That like, he would come in and act, and they even showed, I remember this one documentary, I forget the name of it. They showed like, pictures of Stan Lee acting, and he's got these like weird faces, and he was doing poses of Marvel characters. He was doing poses of like, I could see it right in the comics, like, oh my God, he's totally doing poses of Marvel characters. Yeah. He's doing facial expressions. Like the artists were all like, oh, Stan is like, a ham. He's hamming it up. We're just gonna like, that's why I think it's funny that Stan Lee and the Bullpen all like became characters in the comics. That's actually one of my favorite like what ifs.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the what ifs. What if the Marvel Bullpen had the powers of the Fantastic Four? What if the Fantastic Four all had the same powers?
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny, but so I feel like what they've done is that influence has made its way into the movies, in the sense that the movies have tones that are different in the way that, the different artist / writer teams have different tones, and they bring different things to it. So I just feel that the Thor movies, all three of them, seem like vastly different kinds of things. Yes, the character is the thread, but they're different movies.
Yeah.
So what else did you like about Thor Ragnarok?
Jeff Goldblum.
Well, Jeff Goldblum, yes, yeah.
Amazing.
He's pretty much Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. He's crazy and weird and kind of, threatening in weird, like, certain moments. He's fantastic. He was definitely a highlight in the movie. He plays the Grand Master, which is kind of like how would you describe that character as far as like comparing him to another
Jeff
character?
Goldblum?
Fair enough.
No, he's like the Collector.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, no, they're actually brothers.
Right. But I'm saying that they cast two people that are similar.
Yeah. But he's great. I want to see a movie just about him, like in that role. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, and you can't. I don't want to say anything. It's just those things are good. Yeah. The cameos, and the other thing is that the director. I know I will mispronounce his name.
Tahiti, I give up.
You know what? That's a perfect pronunciation. What I did love is that I read that he was a huge fan of Flash Gordon.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely shows.
and you can see the influence. There's like scenes where people are just like, fighting with guns, but they're having a conversation. Or there's like, you can see it in the way that the music is used and the spaceships. And we did see it in 3D at our screening, and some of the digital effects did not look so great in the 3D.
No,
I don't know if that hurt it.
CG. I think the 3D kind of hurt it.
It kind of hurt it, but the other thing
Zach.
The other thing that needs to be pointed out is how great the music is. It's right out of like an 80s cheesy sci-fi like Flash Gordon with Sam Jones.
It reminded me of that YouTube video that was popular a couple of years ago, Kung Fury. Did you ever see that?
I love Kung Fury.
Yeah, Kung Fury. It reminded me of Kung Fury, the soundtrack. It's very like 80s, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost like hear the crackle of the projector and have it like be like a scratched up print of Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So, but no, what's weird is that every time a new Marvel movie comes out, it's like, well, this is my new favorite Marvel movie.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely, I keep going back and forth. I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is my favorite Marvel movie of the year. But this is definitely second.
All right, and then when Black Panther comes out, that's going to be my favorite Marvel movie, even though it's not out yet.
You're calling it now?
What's that?
You're calling it now?
I'm calling it now.
Okay.
I don't know. Look, I enjoy these movies, but also it's like, I take them for what they are. They're popcorn. It's sort of like, in my mind's eye as a kid, I never believed in my wildest dreams that, oh my God, and there's Jon Schnepp. Hey, here's Schnepp right now. He's gonna crash the podcast at this moment.
Cool.
But never in my wildest dreams as a kid did I think that I would be seeing these characters, on screen. We're talking about Thor Ragnarok. I saw your post about it. Do you want to say anything on the Film Threat podcast? You've been on.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome. I love Thor Ragnarok.
Wasn't it great?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Loved it.
Wait, everyone's like, everyone describes this as a lot of fun. Come on, stop saying it's fun. Stop saying it's fun. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard is like, you don't use the word fun for a movie that's a lot of fun. Fuck you. How about that? I think it's great. It's entertaining. Chris Hemsworth is an incredible comedian that no one... And here's the weird thing is like, I would say you can't really watch Thor and then Thor Dark World and Thor Ragnarok. It's not the completion of a trilogy.
No,
it's not
We were talking about that.
We were
like
just
the tone
saying
is very
that, yeah.
different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I didn't hear them talking about this, but you know what? They're totally right because you know what it is, I would like to see a Thor 4 with this tone. Because, I think the first two Thors are great. And I love Thor. I love the Walt Simonson run. I like the fucking Lee Kirby run. So I'm like, and there's a lot of other runs in between. So I think they were able to take and pick and have little moments from all of those. But that's also Taika's sensibility, his sense of humor. If it's not like it's like you have to have seen The Wilder People to understand this movie. It's not like, if you don't like Taika's other movies, that doesn't mean that you're not going to like Thor Ragnarok, but it's like if you don't have a sense of humor, you might want to skip Thor Ragnarok because you're just not going to get it. You're like, I need Thor to be here. Isn't Ragnarok supposed to be dark and about the apocalypse? Then this isn't for you. You need to go to school, learn about humor, learn about the comedy, tragedy shit that's been going around for thousands of years. Once you grow a pair, then come back and see the fucking movie. You know what I'm saying? It's like, Be a real human being and understand that there's different ways to tell stories. I mean, look, that's for me. And if somebody really hated it because it's too funny, I get where they're coming from, but I thought it was fantastic, and it had just enough humor for me that it wasn't like, people are like, well, it's like a comedy. I'm like, it's an action comedy. I'm not going to say it's a comedy with action. It's definitely an action film with a lot of comedy in there, and all of it was came from the characters.
Yeah,
they weren't telling jokes. It was all from situations, like a situation comedy.
That was one of the criticisms I saw early on about the film, where it was just like, there's these I guess dramatic moments that are it's ruined by the comedy. I don't think that's the case at all. I think the comedy was perfect. And
I will say this: it's like it's 85% for me as far as like out of 100. Just because there were a few dramatic moments that were like undercut because of the comedy, and I'm not going to get into spoilers, but you'll know what I'm talking about when you see it, and you're like, they could have pulled his ass back a little bit, like, Taika, how about you don't say that when that happens? So for me, it was a little bit too much where I was like, I loved like all of it except for a few moments where that's for me where I was like, they kind of, if you let that moment be and then have something happen and then have that same joke, it would have, for me, 100% worked better.
I think we're talking about the same moments. And,
yes,
and again,
I'm
no
not
spoiler.
spoiling shit. Yeah.
I think those were hurt more by feeling rushed. Like those moments felt rushed.
Right. And
so
you know,
the humor
it's a
does
giant
kind of
movie. It's a giant movie. A lot of shit happens. Like there's so much story crammed into it.
Yeah.
But I was incredibly happy with Surtur and
Oh,
that
yeah.
whole storyline.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
the way they handled it, which I was like, I don't know how they're going to cram Planet Hulk and Ragnarok into one movie and have all this other shit.
Yeah.
Like with Hela and all this other. And I think they did a fantastic job. And I think for myself, Hela is an amazing villain. And like they're like, oh, the Marvel curse of having shitty villains. I think it's not there with this film. I think she's a great villain.
I agree.
You know, I mean,
we were talking about how the first 15 minutes they wrap up everything from Thor 1 and 2 kind of in the first 15 minutes and onto the next thing. And the other thing that I did love too, and I know you're a huge fan of this movie, Flash Gordon. The Flash Gordon influences that, like where they're like in an elevator having a conversation or they're like fighting with guns but also talking.
Dude, it's like, I swear to God, like that moment with him and Loki when they're walking in the hallway, I was like, I'm watching fucking Flash Gordon.
It's Flash Gordon.
And it's only people who love Flash Gordon, the 80s movies, felt that. No one else had that. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. That's because you're not fucking cool enough to fucking love Flash Gordon. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to rank up people who hate Flash Gordon or don't love it the way we do.
Right.
But it's kind of fun when you have that simpatico moment because like I was like, you know, Gore would, you know, I thought of a bunch of different people that we've talked about Flash Gordon and why it's so great. It's like those moments. I half expected the lasers to be spirally.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and did the music kind of feel a little Flash Gordon to you a little bit?
Totally
Mark
80s.
Mothersbaugh.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
awesome.
The king of Devo. It makes sense, and I liked the music. Some people didn't like the music. I thought the music fit perfectly. The
Me
tone,
too.
You know,
it fit this movie.
And
It probably is not.
Zeppelin fucking song coming in twice. I mean,
Oh my God, the Zeppelin song! I got chills. I like
I was freaking the fuck out. Like, look, are we talking spoilers in this?
we did talk spoilers because this podcast isn't going to come out to.
This is Chris Gore's fucking film threat, right? So this spoilers.
Yeah. So we can spoil everything because no one gives a shit.
Stop spoiling things. So
No,
like, I'm
spoil
getting-
everything. Spoil.
Well, no, I'm not. All I'm going to talk about is that opening Surtur sequence with the Immigrant song, and you see Thor cut loose. I mean, this was cool where you actually got a chance to see the God of Thunder just killing it, like fighting demons and shit, and it was like going toe to toe with Surtur with his sword. I mean, he's like to Led Zeppelin. How it doesn't get fucking cooler than that.
It was
just doesn't
insane.
get. Like, that's where I was like, I could walk out of this fucking movie right now, 7 fucking minutes into the film, and I'm like, this is one of the greatest comic book adaptations ever. I mean, it's like, and did you already mention, like, sort of, I don't know how far spoilery we want to go. Turn off the fucking
Probably not the
podcast.
end. Probably not the last third.
I'm not gonna,
but
I don't even want to spoil anymore, because it comes out in a week, but everyone's going to see it, so.
It's coming out next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well then you guys must have seen it by now. So definitely, I was gonna say I loved the opening sequence. Because
Oh my God!
in the trailer, it's like Thor's talking to us, like the audience. We're like, is that gonna be in the Is that gonna be in the movie? And then you're like, oh shit, it's because he's talking to a skeleton. And it makes total sense. He's bored. He's been trapped there for a couple days. Whatever. I mean, it makes sense. And I liked how they resolved Hoboden. They didn't have Hobo Odin in it because they're
right.
And Taika's already been on record saying, "Look, we didn't want to have Odin with a bunch of cars honking in the background," and it makes sense now where they are in the film and the way they resolve certain elements.
Hoboden.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was I know Robert Meyer Burnett would be like, "Where's my Hoboden Hot Toys action
Yes,
figure?
right. I need to get that 1/6 scale. Yes.
Where is it? The very
interchangeable hands.
I need an interchangeable Hoboden head. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so fun. I've been doing like the nerd voice throughout the show, simply because when you get around this environment, it's just I don't know. It's just my inner nerd.
You're like, hey, what's going on? You're dressed up in a weird outfit. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
It's almost sort of like I'm a Cylon Raider and a nerd. Yeah. You're like your best Cylon Raider from the 80s.
Well, look, don't listen to the rest of this because now we're going to talk spoilers in that last third. So if you're still listening and you haven't seen the movie,
turn this the fuck off.
Turn this off or listen to it later. Okay, Thor loses an eye. Did you were in Hall H?
Sure.
Okay, he had his eye. at the beginning of Infinity War.
All the trailers too.
Right.
All the trailers. So they're going to digitally have to be popping that little.
No, but wait.
Odin fucking eye.
So did they do that to trick people? Because
Yes.
Anthony was talking about here.
Well, they did that with Thor 2: The Dark World, where like some of the first footage they released, he gets his hand chopped off.
Right.
And I remember distinctly, like, not in any of the TV spots, but in the footage they showed in Hall H, like, they had scenes where he had his hand wrapped. And obviously in the movie, like, that's like an illusion. It doesn't actually happen. I love how Marvel does that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they went as far as they've actually spent money rendering out effects for these Thor Ragnarok trailers where he's landing on the Rainbow Bridge with both of his eyes with electricity in it. And when you see the movie, it's only one eye because Hela fucking ate the other eye. And also there's scenes, like a lot of people are like, well, Loki doesn't have that double knife scene. It's like, all right, that's cool. That's in the trailer, but he doesn't do that in the movie. And there's also that scene where they're all on the Rainbow Bridge and Hela's walking towards them is not in the movie. There's never a scene where all four of them, because Hulk's off fighting that fucking wolf.
Yeah.
So that shit doesn't happen either, but it's like, it doesn't really matter because it's a trailer. It's like, this is some shit that we're setting up. The epic quality of this is still in the movie, but it's all separate because all this other stuff is going on. So I didn't feel bummed out. The only thing I was bummed out about is like not seeing Hela smash that hammer in the back alley somewhere.
Yeah, what was that?
Well, that's what we were talking about. They changed Hob Odin, and so they changed Hela's entrance as well.
Yeah.
Because Doctor Strange was like doing all this crazy mad shit, and he's like, here, it's just behind my house. You're like, what the fuck? So it makes more sense that go to Valhalla or whatever.
Well, just think of geographically, like how much they would have had to have done to set that up. I think they were doing that just for economy of time and just compressing things. But okay, that ending. That setup, that's whose ship is that?
Dude, that's like some Kree Skrull, something or other.
Is it?
That's what I
it?
think. It has to be.
Yeah. Or is it Thanos? Like what? I mean, what is that ship?
It's not Thanos. I think it's like a Skrull ship. That's my guess. It's going to be it's going to lead into some shit that happens at the very top of Infinity War. Because that's why like Feige's talking about like Korg and Mikey are going to be back and all this other shit, and you're like, that's because it probably pops off right there, Thor's floating in space because this fucking spaceship gets blown to bits. Where's Sif?
Do you think that the Asgard ship gets blown up? I mean, maybe that's
something
some
happens.
Fight.
Thor does something where he gets fucking taken off the ship, meets Rocket Raccoon, because we've already seen that in Infinity War. So.
Right. Well, we saw in the preview, which we're going to see a trailer pretty soon.
Yeah,
for Infinity War.
I feel like they're going to drop Infinity War during Thor Ragnarok.
You think so? Yeah, I'll check it out, I guess.
I guess I'll see it.
I'll see it. Why not? Yeah.
Everyone's already talked about it. I'm bored.
We were just talking about how, like, the other thing we were talking about was how Marvel, just as a series of films, you could almost say there's a Marvel movie.
Right.
There's a type of Marvel movie is like a tone of the perfect mix of stuff that tugs at your heart, stuff that like, I can't wait, stuff that's the other thing that like the Marvel movies have been doing so well is stuff we've never seen in a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas I think so many other franchises just sort of go back to like, I guess you want aliens coming out of people's stomachs, so we'll do that again.
My fear for Justice League is they're all going to be like going towards something with garbage in the sky with a hole in the we must close the hole to Apocalypse. Like, don't do that.
It's just, it's going to be
that.
Yeah.
That was the ending of Avengers. I could see like executives from Warner Brothers like use the Avengers as the animatic for Justice League. They better not do that.
I think they kind of poked fun at the giant portal in the sky in Thor Ragnarok. With the
they did. The anus.
Devil's
it
anus.
was literally the devil's anus. And it was
devil's anus.
It was. I was like, because Suicide Squad already did that with the Enchantress. I'm like, look, how many more movies? Avengers: Age of Ultron had literally like 1,000 robots. It's like, how you must fight all these gnat-like creatures, which mean nothing.
Like every single one of the Transformers movies did that too.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that I already know that that's probably has to be one of the resolutions, but hopefully that's Act 2. And that's when Superman comes back from the dead, and then they fucking slap him awake, and then there's some other situation that we have not seen in the trailers, which I know this isn't true, because movies never do this kind of cool shit where, we never saw the third part where it's like they actually go to Apocalypse and Darkseid's in it. What? Wouldn't that fuck everybody up if that actually did happen? And that's what they were doing all these secret reshoots for. We're like, we're not going to end it with the 3 mother boxes converging into one light source to open up a portal to Apocalypse. Yawn. I'm fucking bored. I swear to God, please don't do that. That's all It's too late.
Well,
the movie's already done, so I have no idea if they're doing that.
We were just saying, like, the way I felt when Batman v Superman came out was like, let's get this over with.
Oh,
like, because
boy.
there was so much they over-marketed it. In this, they've kind of over-marketed it in a different way, where Superman's not part of the marketing.
Right.
And they've done some really bizarre tie-ins with, like, I don't know, AT&T or Verizon or whatever.
Right. But I gotta say, I'm very excited for the film. I love the new Flash. I love Wonder Woman. I think Aquaman, it's like he's getting a little too surfer bro for me, the more footage I keep seeing, but I'm still 100% in. I love Ben Affleck as Batman. I love Wonder Woman.
But I kind of begrudgingly bought tickets to the Dome screening at 8 p.m. on that. But you're going to see it before because I'm on Warner Brothers shit list for a number of reasons. I'll do a whole podcast about that one day.
Okay.
Not really. It's not worth it.
All right. Well.
But whatever. So I'm just sort of I'm just cautiously. I want it to be good, but like everything I've seen in the trailer just looks like they shot the whole movie against a green screen.
Well, because they kind of did shoot the whole movie against a green screen. But you know what? My jury is out until I see the film. Like it's easy.
That's what I love about you. With you're like you just want to wait to see it.
Well, because I'm going in with lowered expectations. I'm not going in like it's going to destroy. It's going to be so awesome. But man, I feel like if and you have Joss Whedon, who's a fucking dyed-in-the-wool nerd. He's a super sweaty. It's like he did a great job with Avengers. I think he did a great job with Age of Ultron, with what he was given to work with. And I mean, he wrote it, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of pressure. Like, introduce these 30 characters and Ultron and do these
set
things.
Set up the next movie.
Set up the rest of the next phase 11 or whatever the fuck. So it's like, I feel like he was given a film that Warner Brothers wasn't happy with. With Zack Snyder's film, they were like, look, we need you to fix this. We need you to rearrange this or do something with it that we're getting like Batman v Superman Part 2. We don't want that. We want something different. And he was able to add a bunch of dialogue and change a lot of scenes. And I don't know if he was able to change it enough to make it different than what we're hoping it's not. But I don't even know what, like, I purposely don't know what the story is except for what they've told me via the trailers. There are these 3 mother boxes. That's, it's like Cyborg's one of them. I guess one's in Themyscira and one's in Atlantis.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of bug creatures, the parademons, who are going to be the faceless drones or robots or whatever, the things that don't matter that you stormtroopers, you just kill them and
things
whatever.
That you can rip apart.
Yeah,
no
things
blood.
that get destroyed, and it's that one had a family. No, it was not. It was growing in this body bank. What? Whatever. So you kill 1,000 of them. So And then mother boxes, they're not alive. Who the hell knows?
I'm cautiously optimistic about Justice League. I want it to be good. Like, I love competition. I love the competition between DC and Marvel.
If Justice League is half as good as I want it to be, I'll be over the moon. Like,
exactly.
If they have that shot where all 6 of them are like, and I don't want it to end with them like, I don't want Superman to just show up and then it ends. I want to see Superman kicking some ass. If he fights Darkseid, I'll cry like I'll fall into a fetal position. And they know like half the adults, mostly men in their 30s and 40s, are going to be like, if we did this one thing, that demographic will cry and become babies. It's like, that's not asking a lot for all of the people who are like, we'll spend $40 on IMAX and probably buy it on Blu-ray if you did these 3 things.
Yeah.
They should have a checklist and be like, did we do these 3 things that we know every single dyed-in-the-wool DC fan wants to see? And they'd be like, yes, no. Well, then the 3rd thing you've got to do. That's not a lot to ask, to do the 3 things.
Yeah, not as like a deleted scene, not as a special feature or one shot. Like, put it in the fucking movie.
All right, I got to get back to my booth. It was good talking. Good to see you.
Thank you, John.
See you.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Right. And support my Kickstarter. I got a new comic book. It's called 5. Give me some of that money so I can send you a cool comic book next year.
All right. What's the website?
It's Kickstarter.
Just go to Kickstarter, look up Jon Schnepp.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, John. Thanks.
That was awesome.
Jon Schnepp, good friend of the show. He'll occasionally have me on Collider Heroes, where we talk more nerd stuff, but it's on YouTube. So yeah. So I think that sort of he said it all.
Yeah.
He said it all. That was great. It was great to have John pop in with that. And we did.
Love
Okay,
John.
You're probably still not listening to this because spoilers. But if you are, thank you for listening to the show.
Yeah.
I'm Chris Gore. You can follow me at that Chris Gore. You can follow Film Threat at Film Threat on everything: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Where can we find you? We haven't done this in a while, so we should just do it.
You can find me on Twitter at This Game Cheats. and that's the only place you can find me.
Cool.
If you add me on Facebook, I'll get creeped out.
And if you're still listening to the end of this, you're a cool person, and you're going to get a bonus. You're actually going to get 2 bonuses if you're still listening to the end of this show. If you're listening to this show, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Film Threat 5042 Wilshire Boulevard. That's Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California 90036, and I'll send you some free stickers. Free Film Threat stickers just for doing that. And maybe you can send a letter. Maybe we'll read your letter and do a shout out on the Film Threat podcast. Also, here's the second bonus. If you continue to listen to the show,
you might get something special.
Something special. Here is some exclusive. Well, it's actually not exclusive.
No, other people were recording it too.
Yeah, but here's some audio from the James Franco and Dave Franco Q&A moderated by Kelly Oxford at a screening of The Disaster Artist. We're just going to play a couple of clips from that, and we hope you enjoy it. 2 great films on this podcast, Thor and Thor Ragnarok, Disaster Artist.
Definitely see them.
All right. Enjoy this bonus piece of audio, and
let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
All I knew about Tommy really was from what I got from the book, and like he didn't seem like a guy you really wanted to say it nicely. And so we had to get his life right. So I did talk to him and Greg on the phone. He wanted Johnny Depp, you know, and I laughed, and he's like, "Why are you laughing?" And I didn't want to offer, you know, myself or my brother because we didn't have the contract. But Greg brought it up, and then Tommy was like, yeah, maybe, you know, James, I see some of your stuff, and you do some good things, some bad things. And then what I learned later is, you know, he thinks he's James Dean. Like he famously quotes Rebel Without a Cause in the movie, Tyranny of Power, Lisa, right? That's directly from Rebel Without a Cause. He's got like weird reverse body dysmorphia. Like he's not like a thin guy that thinks he's overweight. Like he looks like that and thinks he's James Dean. Like he, you know, I think he actually does. And I had played James Dean, and so I think that's one of the reasons he actually, the 2 people he wanted were Johnny Depp or me, I guess. And then we didn't really have him around, but his one, you know, point in the contract was that he had a cameo, and it had to be opposite me, and likely you're suggesting like you know, maybe, you know, because we actually shot the Puppet Master scenes that had been cut out, but we were shot in Romania, and we're like, hey Tommy, we know you're from New Orleans, but maybe you want to be in the Romanian scene? They all sound like they're from New Orleans there, you know? They're like, no, has to be opposite you, have to be with James. And we're just thinking like, well, we can't cast him in any role that's like crucial to the plot because like, he just can't play anything other than himself. I mean, you can see him in that scene. He's like trying to like play a character, I guess. He's got like a fake mustache and he's got a ponytail. Is that Tommy? Who knows? So we wrote this scene where I was at it was this birthday party scene that's sort of not really in there anymore, but Tommy went to this birthday, my Tommy went to this birthday party and saw that Greg had all these friends there, and so I go and pout in the corner, right? And then we wrote, okay, this guy comes over and talks to him at the food table, and Tommy starts writing me before his big scene, and he's like, all right, I want my characters to be named Henry. Henry, got it. And then he sent me this photo. He was obviously in like lens crafters because all the glasses were behind him. He these glasses on. He was like, you like these glasses for home, Ray? I'm like, yeah, those are cool, dude. And then he had drawn on the mustache in a big pen. And he wrote, if you like mustache, I draw it on butter when we shoot. What movie do you think we're making, dude? We'll get you a fake mustache. And so he came on and we shot the scene. It was insane. And it doesn't play as big as I remember it, but like that night when he was like,
it was insane. We were all.
So we go, because that was all improvised. He's like, so we go, and I'm like, go where? He's like, back to my place. Now he was full on hitting on me, and like everybody at the monitor was, I could see him out of the room. Not only is he hitting on me, he's hitting on himself. I love you guys. And then we had cut it out. Like it was in the first assembly. I think only me and the editor saw that scene. We're like, okay, that's insane. Get that out. And then we later we shot the scenes for the room to play in our premiere scene. We hadn't intended to do the side-by-side, but we thought, oh man, we did those so well, we gotta show this off. We want to do a side-by-side in the credits, but we hadn't negotiated for the room footage. So we had to go back to Tommy, and during those renegotiations, he asked somebody, like, so how am I seeing? And they're like, dude, it's not in there. And so he's like, well, you want my footage, you have to put my scene in. We were stumped for a second, and then we were like, we'll just do the Marvel tag. And it'll be perfect for the room fanatics. Like you get to see a little bit of Tommy at the end of the credits. And okay, so finally, I'll finish this. So finally, he never wanted to watch the movie. He waited until we showed it at South by Southwest. And packed house. It was the first time we really showed it to any audience. Didn't know it was awesome. You know, it was like great on like a rock concert. But we didn't know how Tommy was gonna react, and we're just looking down the row, like, and he's kind of not really laughing. He's like whispering to Greg, the real Greg, every once in a while, because he hated. Because he had said like Greg book only 40% true. And we're like, well, we based the movie on his books, so and so we're like, oh, we can't bring him up after for the Q&A because he could just be up here like this movie on this bullshit. So we didn't bring him up, and then the real Chris R, the Zac Efron guy, the real one came and asked a question. He's like, yeah, I play Chris R. And can I have a picture with you guys? And Seth was like, yeah, come on up. And I see Tommy out there, and there's just like a dark cloud. And I don't know if it's because he hated the movie, because I still haven't talked to him, or he's jealous of Chris R, or whatever. And I'm like, Tommy, come up, and he won't come. And the whole audience stands and chants his name. It's like, so then he begrudgingly comes up. We still didn't give him the mic. It's my big regret. And so we walk off stage, and I was like, all right, Tommy, what do you think? And he goes, I approve 99.9%. Okay, now here, this says everything about Tommy and how he, adapted to the reactions of the room. I was like, I remember it so clearly. I'm not gonna forget this. I go, so what's the 0.1%? And you think he's gonna be like, well, I never said that, or I never did that, or whatever. He goes, director to director, he goes, well, I think you should look at lighting in beginning of film, Okay, dude, I'll tell my DP Brandon you should go. Maybe you should watch The Room, get some chips. And so I told that story, to some outlets, and so then by the time we got to TIFF, he's there. He's got a whole new story. He's like, yeah, I say 99.9%, but it's not because lighting. I never say that. I'm like, dude, you said that. I'm not making that up. You said that. He's like, no, because the way you throw football, I don't throw football. All right, yeah. All-American guy, you know how to throw football.